Hello my broken dreamers. LOL, anyway, here is the next part of Only for a Night aka Rewards. Enjoy. Kageyama didn't exactly know what outfit would be cute enough for him. All he wore was his school uniform and workout clothes most of the day. He didn't know what he was going to be doing either, so he didn't want to be too fancy, but worried if he would look underdressed. But as he looked in his closet, there was only one real question he wanted to be answered: why in the hell does he care? This was Tsukishima, the saltiest boy and the pain in his ass. But what happened a week ago seemed to change their dynamic with each other. None of his insults was taken to heart, mostly because Tsukishima seems to just say the insults without any heat to really make Kageyama mad. They were spotting each other everywhere, and if Kageyama was too close, he felt his heart starting to race. But even worse, Kageyama expected more kisses throughout this week after his goodbye kiss, but Tsukishima stayed away from him. Maybe it was a good thing. He got a chance to spend time with Hinata, though his partner seemed more distracted lately. Maybe it was because of the trip to Tokyo. But back to the problem at hand. He didn't know what to wear. He had enough white and black t-shirts, but he pulled out a dark blue button-up and a pair of skinny jeans. This was enough, right? This was just an outing, just hanging out, right? Kageyama shyly looked in the mirror and straightened out his hair after putting his clothes on. He never thought about his appearance this much, but he felt his heart race and he didn't know why. It was usually like this with Hinata. Was his crush changing? Kageyama shook his head, rolling up his sleeves to his elbows. His crush can't change so quickly. He hardly did anything with Tsukishima. But he has been looking forward to arguing with him. Just hearing the blonde just calling him king brought him excitement. This wasn't how they were supposed to be. They were supposed to dislike each other, just tolerate each other. He wanted more. What's wrong with me? He asked softly, afraid of the answer. Well, he knew the answer, just wasn't ready to accept it. Kageyama snapped his head at the sound of knocking on the door. He spared one last look in the mirror, very grateful he did shower twice and moisturized earlier. What is wrong with him? Kageyama raced down his stairs and opened his door. Tsukishima was a pretty sight. He was wearing a nice gold shirt with a black light jacket. It brought out his eyes that made him blush once he realized Tsuki was staring at him. Oh, did I overdressed? I can go change. Kageyama said frantically. No, God, no, you look beautiful. Tsuki blurted out. Kageyama was still trying to stop himself from blushing and convincing himself to think they were just hanging out when Tsuki moves his hand from behind himself to give him a small bouquet of blue irises and red roses. It took his breath away, mostly because he never thought of himself getting flowers. These are for you, Tsuki said, blushing and looking away. Kageyama smirked. Without thinking, he touched Tsuki's face and placed a kiss on his cheek, making Tsuki look at him, shocked. It was the first time Kageyama made a move between them. Kageyama took the flowers, finding them a place to put them before making his way outside and locking the door behind him. Ready to go? He asked, ignoring what he did. He didn't even know what he did or why, it felt so natural. Yeah, Tsuki answered, grabbing Kageyama's wrist and pulling him to a car waiting for them. Kageyama doesn't remember Tsuki having a car. Tsuki opened the back door for him, Kageyama climbing into Daichi and Suga talking. Suga was the first to look at him and smiled. Hey, Kageyama. Suga said cheerfully while Daichi chuckled and watched Tsuki climb in, glaring at the both of the elder boys, mostly Suga. Hey, Kageyama said, before looking at Tsuki. I figured having them here would help you relax than just the two of us, Tsuki explained. Kageyama smiled, feeling his tension leaving him. It did feel less like a date, but somehow still held the romance about it. Thank you, Kageyama said softly. Tsuki looked at him, before taking his hand. Anytime, Tobio, Tsuki responded, looking at Kageyama's eyes. He could really get lost in them whenever Kageyama looked at him like this. He could get lost with his voice alone whenever he says his first name. Then they remembered that they weren't alone. Both boys looked at the two elder boys, who were both smirking and felt like proud parents. Can we go? Tsuki demanded, coming out a bit harshly, but Daichi and Suga knew he was just embarrassed that he was caught being soft towards the one person he normally argued with. Daichi chuckled. Sure, he answered before he finally drove off to their location. Kageyama didn't know where they were going until he saw shades of red, orange, and gold up ahead, many people mingling around and walking towards the festival. He looked at Tsuki excitedly before looking out of his window. He has never been to a festival before, though it was mostly because he was more focused on volleyball. Then his feelings came and he felt all jumbled up. He still felt it too, mostly because now he didn't know who was his feelings towards. Tsuki was being sweet and maybe he still felt bad that Hinata rejected hanging out with him in favor of other people. But he couldn't deny that his heart raced when he thought of Tsuki and the feeling of wanting to kiss the blonde whenever they were alone was getting greater. He looking at Tsuki again, who seems to be in deep thought. Kageyama wasn't sure if he really wanted this hanging out to be just that. Kageyama smiled to himself. Well, at least to him, he wants this to be a date. He wanted to be closer to Tsukishima, maybe even romantically. He side-eyed Tsuki. But would Tsuki like him like that? Was he just doing this just because Kageyama got rejected by Hinata? Even a week ago, Tsuki told him not to think too much about those kisses. But it didn't explain about the makeout session that night a week ago. Yeah, Kageyama sorta asked for it, but he didn't expect Tsuki to be that into it. It didn't explain when Tsuki touched him like that was all he ever wanted. It didn't explain why Tsuki was being nice. I can smell your brain burning in your head. You don't have much of it, so stop overthinking it. Tsuki said, avoiding Kageyama's eyes. He could feel it burning holes into his head. Tsukishima. Suga reprimanded, but Tsuki didn't take it back. When Daichi finally parked, Tsuki looked over at Kageyama. His eyes were intense and he looked confused. What? He asked. Kageyama cocked his head like a cute puppy. I don't understand you at all, Kageyama stated. Tsuki raised an eyebrow. Was Kageyama really trying to figure him out? You don't understand much of anything, Tsuki told him. Kageyama smiled, which made Tsuki confused this time. I know you like kissing me. And I know you think I look cute. Kageyama pointed out. Tsuki blushed and looked away. Tch, dumbass, he grumbled, making Kageyama laugh with a victory. Tsuki blushed more. Suga calmed down. As weird as it was for Tsuki to try to insult Kageyama, it was cute that Kageyama was figuring him out. Seeing him in this situation, Tsuki really did have a sweetheart. He chuckled as the four of them got out of the car. Those two really did like each other, even if they both want to deny it. Suga spared a look at Kageyama. He hopes silently that at least Kags will recognize his feelings for Tsuki soon. The two groups separated to spend time with their partner, so Suga and Daichi left the boys to themselves, but not before Suga told them to always be together and keep their phone on loud so if they call, they could hear it. Then Suga gave them rules like not fighting and causing trouble here nor start trouble with any other volleyball players they may see here. That last one was mostly for Kageyama. Hinata might be the main one to claim victory proudly without playing the opponent first. Kageyama was the type to not back down from a challenge. Kageyama pouted at the last rule. Yes mom, Tsuki and Kag said in unison with a deadpan voice, but it still caused Suga to blush. Daichi laughed behind him, gaining a glare from Suga. Come on, sweetie, they know better. No need to baby them. Daichi said, holding Suga from behind. Kageyama blushed at the open intimacy, Tsuki eyeing him and wondering if Kags would be okay with that. You forgot these two like to rile each other up. We don't need a bad name for our school nor club. Suga explained. They won't. Then Daichi gave them a firm stare that made their skin crawl. Right. He said sternly. Both Tsuki and Kags nodded. Good. You two have fun, Daichi said before pulling Suga so they could start their date. Am I the only one who strangely wants to cause trouble now? Kageyama asked, making Tsuki chuckle. No. But let's do that later. Let's go. Tsuki said before taking Kageyama's hand and pull him to the festival. Kageyama caught up and squeezed his hand, giving Tsuki a cute smile. Tsuki felt his heart melt at that moment. Tonight, and tonight only, Kageyama was his.